Welcome to War Bonnet Trains. Today we're going to discuss how to store your trains after the holidays. Christmas is over. New Year's is gone. This is the first weekend of the year, and people usually pick this weekend to take down the decorations and sadly the trains as well. The Christmas season for trains is some of the hardest running conditions that a model train can go through. We're talking constant running for long periods of time, high rates of speed for a month straight. It's just a harsh environment. The environment would be trains running, especially tinsels. Tinsel comes loose from the tree. Cotton surrounds, the cotton fibers get pulled into the mechanism. Needles falling off the tree, decorations, who knows, all kinds of stuff gets under there. A running locomotive is nothing more than a static generator. If there's something nearby it, the locomotive is going to pull it in. So when the engine goes through all this, we got to prepare it for when we get ready to store it. We just don't want to put it back in the boxes and put away and then not realize what all the stuff that's going on in there. You're going to take it out and try to run it again. Chances are the engine's going to burn up. So to prepare the locomotives, this is what we do. First thing, we disassemble the locomotive and remove any foreign matter from the mechanism. We remove old lubricants and we clean everything out, removing the tinsel and all the stuff that doesn't belong in there. We repair any broken parts. Either fix them yourself or send them out, but you don't want to pack the locomotives in the box broken because they're going to be broken pretty much when you take them out. They're not going to fix themselves in the boxes and are not going to be ready when you need them next year. Okay? If the locomotive is going to return to service, and what I mean by that is if it's going to come out under the layout and go on, come under the tree and go on the layout and run, you're going to, before you put it together, go ahead and service the locomotive. Clean the locomotive just like you would for storage, but this time we're going to lubricate it. You're going to want, while it's apart, it's the best time to do it. Okay, if you got to store your locomotive, the best thing to do is put it in the original packing. Okay, if it's going to be stored for the year, put it in the package. Put a note in there that says do not use before lubricating. I can't stress that. You don't want to put the train in the box lubricated because one, it's not going to stay there long. Gravity, when the engine is sitting not moving around, the lubricant is going to run out of the locomotive. Gravity is going to pull it out. The greases, an interesting problem happens to the greases alone. The grease is going to separate because it's not being agitated. And when it separates, the liquid part of the grease is going to run out, and the only thing left behind is the solids. The solids, if it's coupled with heat from a non-climate controlled area, what is going to happen is it's going to start to turn solid. By the end of the year, it's about halfway there. The grease is extremely sticky. It's really, really not hard or not easy for a mechanism to turn. The motor is going to work really hard to get it moving. If it's in storage for longer than a year, what happens is it actually turns solid. I have had locomotives hit my bench and the grease is literally as hard as a rock. It's like glue dried up. And I have to put all the parts in a sonic cleaner to get it all loosened and out of the mechanism. Okay, so if an engine is going into storage, clean it, but don't lubricate it. Okay, and most important of all, if you're going to take anything away from this video, is don't forget to remove the batteries. Even if they're just rechargeable, unless they're permanently installed. In other words, if there's not a way to get to it and take it out, remove them because they will leak. Within a year's time, when a battery is sitting in an item, it's going to leak. Think about all the flashlights that you've pulled out of a drawer and found out that they leaked. Same thing happens to the trains, and the worst part of it is the trains are going to stay in storage so long that the acid is going to have a chance to really do some damage before you get it open again. So take all the batteries out. Take them out of the controllers. Take them out of the cars that make sound. Take them out of the locomotives. Okay. Again, we pack the trains in their original packaging. You got to look at it like this. It is the safest place. Don't throw it away, especially if your trains sit packed for a long time. You want them in the original packaging. Okay. The only time this is an exception is if your packaging has foam and the train item is actually touching the foam. This is something that you don't want. Wrap the train in plastic. You definitely want to do this. Something, at the very least, put saran wrap around your train and then put them in the box. Foam over time decomposes, and as it decomposes, it turns acidic. Basically, what happens is your trains are sitting in this foam. The foams are pressed against your locomotive. It's going to etch itself to it. Not only is it going to seem like it's stuck to it, but when you go to wipe it off, you're going to find out that it's actually etched into the paint. This pretty much will ruin the model. So wrap your trains in plastic. If most trains now come wrapped with a plastic barrier on it, do not throw it away. It's there for a reason. Okay. The second thing, when you're packing your trains, don't wrap them in newspaper. Don't wrap them in anything with print, and that's including things like wrapping paper, like for Christmas. It's not meant to be there long. The inks over time decompose, and the same thing, they turn acidic. In the shop, I've had collections come in the shop and I've unwrapped the items. When I unwrap them, I find out, when I unbox them, I find out that the items were wrapped in newspaper. When I take them out and start trying to unroll it, every single time that I've done it, the paper sticks to the model. And the reason why is the ink turned acidic. And guess what? It actually etched the print into the model. You cannot take it out. You might be able to clean the print, but believe it or not, the print has etched an image into the paint finish. There's no getting around it. Don't use newspaper. Okay, let's cover where to store your trains. Your locations are important. The place you want to put your trains is a dry, climate-controlled storage area, such as a closet within the home, under a bed, under the layout. Anything in the home is a good place to put it. Where not to store your trains? The attic. The attics are the #1 worst storage areas to put your train in. If it's not a climate-controlled attic, keep in mind, attics are open air, and what I mean by that is they're open to the air. The eaves actually have vents that allow air to come in and pass through the attic. That's how the attic gets cooled. But along with the air, it pulls in all the moisture. It pulls in the humidity. And think about those hot days, especially here in the South. It is just unbearably wet. You can feel the wetness in the air when you walk outside. You instantly start to sweat. Your trains are in this environment when they're up in the attic. It is the worst. It actually starts attacking at the paper, the paper of the boxes. The boxes start to decompose. Your flaps start to get really, really brittle, and they're easy to tear. This is done because of moisture. Okay, temperatures. Temperatures are extremely high during the summer. Down here in North Florida, temperatures get 140 degrees. I have a thermometer up in mine, and I have regularly seen it at 140 degrees up in the attic. It is an extreme temperature environment for your trains. It makes your plastic brittle. It decomposes the paper. It decomposes the foam. Just don't put them up there. Okay, the heat, and again, it hardens the grease. The lubricants. When oil gets hot, it gets thin. When it gets thin, it runs out of the locomotive. Okay, basements. Basements are the second worst, especially if they're not climate controlled. At the very least, run a dehumidifier down in the basement. The reason for it It is a moisture trap. You're below ground. The ground holds moisture. It leaches through the masonry work. It gets inside of the basement. And you know this especially if you walk down to the basement and as you're climbing down the stairs, you smell that musty smell. That musty smell is telling you that you have moisture in the basement. Keep in mind your boxes that your trains are in are moisture wicks. It's going to pull the moisture out of the air and trap it around your trains. You don't want that. Okay, sheds. Sheds are about the number 3 as far as the worst places to keep your trains in, especially if it's not at least an air conditioner out there. Temperatures are the problem. Sheds, just like attics, can get pretty hot. I've seen them regularly hit 100 degrees down here in Florida. Same deal as the attic, decomposition. There's an added problem with the sheds. Since they're near to the ground, you got a bug problem. Sheds rarely do they close bug tight. The bugs get in. The boxes are just a smorgasbord for these critters. They're going to eat the paper. That's their food. They eat it. They're going to get into your locomotives and make homes out of it. It's just a bad deal. Okay, so what do you do if this is the only place to keep them? In other words, if for some reason you just don't have anywhere to put your trains and you have to put them in these places, this is how you protect them. It's going to prolong their use, but keep in mind it's still a harsh environment. First thing you do, you're going to take your train item. You're going to put it in the original packaging, just like we stated before. You're going to put this item in Ziploc bags. You're going to put a desiccant pack. And what a desiccant pack is, there's those little packages. What they do is they pull the moisture out of the air in a tight environment. So you're going to put it in the bag with your train item. Sealing the bag is going to keep the critters out. Okay? Once you have it in the bag, you're going to put all your train items inside a plastic storage box. This is going to do 2 things for you. One is going to be a dust barrier. Dust is just as corrosive as moisture is. It doesn't take quite as long, but it does happen. So if you have trains that are being stored, let's say from a member of the family that no longer plays with them and they're staying up in the attic long term, put them in the plastic boxes. It's gonna make them last a little longer. The boxes, for the second thing that it does for it, is going to be a temperature barrier. It's going to, although it eventually will climb to the temperature of the attic, it takes it a while. Since it's a barrier, it actually takes a little longer to come up to temperature in the box. So with that said, the temperature, it's not as exposed as it would be if it was not in the box. Okay, so if you follow these steps, your trains will last a long time. Okay, I'm Dave again. This is War Bonnet Trains. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this kind of information, subscribe, because I'm going to do all kinds of maintenance and storage and all kinds of videos like this about your trains. So give me a subscribe, and so you can be alerted when these videos come out. Thanks a bunch.